Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today on Masechtas Ksubas daf Pei Hey, we are going to begin on Pei Hey Amud Aleph, about 10 lines from the top. Avimi berei de Rabbi avo havi maskili zuze be chozoi. So they owed money to the be chozoi. Shadrinhu biyad chama berei de Rabbi bar avo. So they sent this money in which they owed, and they sent it through him. Also parinhu, so they went and they paid them. So everything seems pretty straightforward. So Amalhu habali shtara, so they said, could you please give me a star? This way we could verify that you received this money. So Amrulay sitroi ninhu, says Rashi, sitroi mitzad acher. In other words, you would say that this is a different loan you paid. So you said, yeah, you're right, you gave me a certain amount of money, but that was not for the loan that you thought. They actually owed us money for another loan, and therefore that milva peh, that's going to be paid off. And now this, I still owed more money, so therefore I'm not giving you a star, because they still owe me. So also kamedu Ravavo Amalei Islach Sahadi Depar Tinhu. So the question is, was there any witnesses that they actually paid this person? So Amalei Lo says, no, the truth is we gave him the money, but there was no one else around. So Amalei Migu since he could say Lahadam, he could just simply say, I never received any money because there's no witnesses. So Yechol Nami Lamemar Sitroi Ninhu. So therefore he's also believed to say Sitroi, that it was actually another loan. Now Inyan Shalumi Shliach Mai. The question is, what do we do? Because the Shliach apparently made a mistake. Says Rashi, Mihavi Poisheya Shehichser Hamois Ad Shul Kibel Mehem Hashtar. Maybe he should have first gotten a star and then given the money. The fact that he gave the money first and then demanded the star, now he's not going to get the star, so maybe on some level the shliach was wrong. So in this, Omarav Ashi Chazina, and we see, Shakel Shtara Vahav Zuzi Mishalom. If he was specified and he said, I want you to first take a star and then give the money, then in fact you're accountable because you didn't do as you're supposed to. If he said, Hav Zuzi Shkol Shtar Lu Mishalom, if you would have been told, you can give him the money first, so in that situation, that's exactly what he did, so you shouldn't have to pay. V'lohi, ben kach v'en kach mishalom. We say in either situation, he has to pay. Because the principal person could say, we have this in many places in Kedusha and elsewhere, that he can say that I only appointed you to be my shliach to help me, not to hurt me. It says Rashi, v'hoylocha l'dakdik b'tekanasi. You should have been more careful, and again, you should have collected the star first. Even though maybe I didn't say it that way, it should have been self-evident that that's what you should have done. Question 5. Loive shepara chayiv. If you have a lender that paid off a loan, him nemen hamalve is the lender believed l'tayin sitroininhu. So it depends. So impar be'edim lo neman. If he paid back with witnesses, obviously he's not going to be able to say that. However, impar shelo be'edim neman, because of the migu. Okay. And now we have another story. Hayisasa, there was this girl, dehavi mifgede gaba miloigadishtari, that she was deposited a significant amount of shtaros. So it was like a container filled with documents. So also Yorshim, so the Yorshim came, and Katavi Lemina, and they started to claim it. They asked, we want these documents. So Amra Lahu, so she said to these Yorshim, Mechayim Tafisna Lahu, that I was typhosit Mechayim, says Rashi. So what does that mean? Actually, what happened was he owed me money. B'chayim Shahaya Chayiv Li Hechzakti Bahem. So the reason I actually was typhus at Mechayim, we said you can be typhus Mechayim, you can't be typhus Lachar Misa, as we saw in yesterday's daf, you can be typhus Mechayim. So that's what this person is saying. This woman is saying that I was typhus for the monies that was owed to me, and therefore I'm not giving it back I'm not giving it to Yorshim. So Asoil committed Rab Nachman Amalei Islech Sahadi to Tavua Minach Machayim. So do you have any witnesses that you claimed it from him in his lifetime? V'lo Yihavis Nihilei. So Amalei lo. So Imkain Havi Tfisa Le'achar Misa. Tfisa Achar Misa lo Klumhi. The reality is that this is considered to be like a tfisa l'achar misa, and therefore it's nothing. Says Rashi, Shekol zman shehoye chai hoye pikadon biyadcha. As long as the man was alive, so the pikadon was in your hand. Tarahin k'menuchin b'rshusei. It's like it was placed in his rishus. When do we say that you grabbed it in the lifetime that it works? Kigon shirohu karav lamus. You see the person's about to die. But tafas matalton l'shem chayvo, and you grabbed onto the matalton for the sake of a debt they owes. V'hoya pikadon biyadai, not that you had a pikadon in your hands. So this pikadon throws off the din, and therefore it's not that it was considered like tafas machayim. There's another story of this woman, the chayve shvua beidina. She was chayv to make a shvua. Says Rashi, shay adam taiva mamoin v'hi koiferas. So someone was claiming money and she denied it. She's a kafir b'koil. So the Rabbi, beidina the Rabbi. So Amrulei bas Rav Chista yadanaba the chashuda ashvua. Said, do you not know that a person is that this person is chayshid on a shvua? So avcha Rav l'shvua ashekenegda. So the din is when a person is typically, when someone owes money, so the din is that you say that person makes a shvua that I didn't pay you, that I don't owe you the money. But if you're chayshid, so then the Gemara says in shvuas that we do the opposite. We have the other person make the shvua, and he collects, even though normally you make a shvua and not pay. So over here, because there was a chiv shvua, this person was someone who was chayshid. Says Rashi, "Babas Rav Chista shehemanta lochshad as isha al shvua." So Zimnin Haviyas became to Rav Papa of Rabbi Adabar Masna Isa who star gabe. So this is document that came before us. Amuli Rav Papa Yudaname the star Pariyahu. I know that this is a star that was already paid up. So Amalei Ika Inish Achrina Bahade Damar. Is there another witness to testify to this? Amalei Lo. Amalei Avgab Ikamar, even though there is you, Aid Echad Lav Klumhu. One witness is not enough for me to be able to say that this star is Parua. So Amalei Rav Adabar Masna Avahaye Rav Papa Kibas Rav Chista. Why don't we say that Rav Papa should at least be like Bas Rav Chista? Rav Chista, the Bas Rav Chista, was believed to say that there was a person who was Chayshin al Shvua. So why don't we say the same thing, that Rav Papa should be believed that this is considered to be a Shtar Perua? Right, says Bas Rav Chista Kimle Begava, Mar Lo Kimle Begave, which is an unbelievable statement. So when it came to the Bas Rav Chista, so that was someone who was at the highest level of trustworthiness. And therefore for that woman, we believe her regarding Chayshin al Shvua. Amra Papa Hashadi Amar Kimle Begave Milsi. Now do you want to tell me that someone who actually is known to be upright and would not lie could go on Abba Mar Bere de Kimle Begave? If we would be dealing with someone of the stature of Abba Mar Bere, then he is someone that you could trust. And Karana Shtara Apume, you should be able to rip up the star in front of him. So Karana Sagadat, what do you mean you rip it up? Says Rashi, V'chi Echa Neman Lo Haitzi Star Chosum Miada Machzik Bo Afuki Memoinahu Trebinan. How does any person have the right individually to be able to take a star which is already signed and sealed and take it out of the person who's holding on to it, and to cause an issue for a monetary situation? You need two. Ella Maran Star Apume. Actually, he could weaken the star so that because of this, it causes a poor name on it. Of course, we're not going to rip the star up. We're going to have to do more investigation. But again, based on that, we may not consider it to be valid. So there's this woman, that was mechuyev to make a shvua. So Amalhu Ahu Baldin, I believe that's what the Reishi Tevis are. Hu Baldin. Teisi v'tishma b'masa. Let's make a shvua in our town. So they were particular that they wanted to make a shvua in their own city. Why? After the mitzvah umoidia. Actually, I prefer it being done that way because they may be embarrassed, and then they're going to admit to the fact that it's not true. Sarmuhu kisvle zachvasa. Write to me zachvasa. Rashi says shabasiladin. This document that you're going to go to court. Beniftarti himenu b'shvuasi, and you'll be pater with my shvua. Tachi mishtaba, that when I swear yavili, you can give it to me. Amahu Rav Biber Barabaya Kasvula. So he said that it should be written. Just because you come from literally an abridged place, says Rashi, base Elu Shehin Karusa Yomim, that the children of Elu, was cursed. They were cursed that they were going to end up having a shortening of life. Or Rashi's alternatively, it's referring to the Gavoinim, Bali Mumin, Shenu Chayin, Kishar B'nei Adam. They don't live like other people. So just because you live in this unusual manner, so you're going to say unusual words. Omarava Hai Sharta Dedaini. When it comes to a Sharta Dedaini, which is a document which is strengthening the din, the michtava mikamei the nachve sahadi chasimos yodaihu pasula, that if it was written before the edus of the signatures, then it's possible. Alma Mexica shikra, hachana Mexica shikra. You can't write a document before the witnesses come about, before the testimony, because it looks like a lie. So the same thing over here. They can't write something that hasn't happened yet. So how is it possible? Just like they can't write a document before the testimony took place, so he shouldn't be able to write this document, write for me this document that when I make a shvua, then you'll be able to give to me. So v'leisim and Rav Nachman, Omer Hay Rav Meir, afilu matzah ba'ashba. The truth is, he says, even if you find a star literally in a garbage heap, v'chasmu, and it was signed, v'nasnula, kosher. Even though you would think maybe if it was in the garbage heap, that already loses its stature, and therefore maybe it's actually not of value. So befil rabban lo pliga lehad rameir el begiti nashim. The whole machlokas is when it comes to gittin, to be in ksiv l'shma, whether or not when it comes to because a get has to be written l'shma, so they were more careful. Avo b'shar shtaros moidele. However, when it comes to other documents, he admits. Yom Rav Asi, Yom Rav Yochanan, shtar shaloivabo. If you have a star which, again, based on it, there was a loan. Uparo is paid back. And uchayzer, don't give it back. The loivabo, and lend out again with the same star. So if you have a document that says there was $100, you shouldn't pay back the loan and then say, okay, well, here's can I borrow another $100 tomorrow? Yeah, sure. Let's use the same document. Shkvar nimchol shibudo. And it says the reason is because the shibud is moichel. Says Rashi, mishaparu, once you pay back the first time, batal the star no longer has any validity. Benimsis malva hashniya milva pev inu gavim min kuchos. So therefore, the second one is really milva pev. Never, you can't collect from lukuchos. You can only collect if it's a milva b'shtar from lukuchos. So taima denim choshibudo. The only reason why you shouldn't be able to use this document, this star, is because of this issue of the shibud, because you're not really supposed to be able to collect from lukuchos, because it's really milva pev. Although Mexica shikras would continue to pay Hamad Bays, if the whole issue is because it may look like a lie, says Rashi Shon Nichtav al Milvazu, because it was not actually written for this loan, it was written for a previous one, Leichashinan. So in that we are not concerned. Says Rashi, Imo Sheish Badavar, Bittel Star Gomer. So again, when maybe the whole time it's an issue, but Dafka by Gitti Nashim, but not when we're dealing with Shar Shtaros. And I think there's a question over here. TA9. Mehechet Haraya. From where do we see a proof? begittin loy chashin l'mechsek shikra, that we're not concerned when it comes to gittin of it looks like sheker. Meichin urayid b'shtar shtaros loy chashinan, we're not concerned by other shtaros. So he says, when it comes to mechsek shikra, we're not concerned when it comes to a get TA9, is because we find, it says, what happens if you find it in the ashba? Rameir says, if you find the ashba in the garbage, and it was signed, and you can, and it was chasmo, but nasnul kosher, you can sign and give it, and it's considered to be kosher. Now it must be because it's not an issue that it may look like sheker, that it was already pre-written. When it comes to shtaros, mishtar shaloi b'bo parai dilav de machol shibudo hayachayz of aloi v'loi. So he said, also when it comes to shar shtaros, according to all opinions, they admit, because of the proof of, again, if you borrow money, you pay it back. You're not supposed to use the same shtar a second time because of shkvar nimchol shibudai. It's not because of mechsek shikra, and therefore it must be mechsek shikra is not an issue. That was TA9, maybe TB10. Mehechen hevi b'gemar raya shloi chashil mechsek shikra lichter shtar kaidem amaisa. So same question, but it says two answers. Mahad Rameir Machshir get Isha Alpha Bishamatz Ba'ashba Yafra Banan Maida B'Shar Shtaros Mahad Shtar Shalaiba Ba'Para and Uchayz of a Laiba Ba'Matam Shanimcha B'Shibuda Ba'Matam the Mechsek Shikra. So it's literally the exact same question. That was TB10. Okay. Weiter. So let's continue now on Pei Hamud Beis with the next piece. So another story. Ahu Gabra. So there was a person, the Afgid Shav Marganisa. He had 7 pieces of jewelry. Says Rashi, Sheva Margolios, Saruas B'Tzadin, that Sire B'Tzadina. It was wrapped up in a kerchief. And it was Hifgid Biad Rav Miyasha. So it was given in Bei Rabbi Miyashas, Bar Bered Rabbi Yeshua Levi. So it was in his hands for safekeeping. Shachav Rav Miyasha. So Rav Miyasha, who was the one that was holding on to this as a safekeeping, he died. V'lo pokid. However, Rashi says, Lutzivul Anshi Beisai. Shachataftai Misa. Because death just overtook him, he wasn't able to explain to his family the status of this of these jewels that were deposited by him. So Asagamed Rav Ami. So they went to Rav Ami because obviously the Yorshim were complaining and they were saying that it belongs to them. So Armale Chada the Adanabe Barab Miyasha Barba Raid Rav Yeshua ben Levi Deloy Ahmed. So the reality is, we know Rashi is Edu Asher. He was not a wealthy person. And since he wasn't a wealthy person, it probably doesn't belong to him. But and furthermore, Hakayoim Simana, says Rashi, the Aymer B'Sadin Hem Surin B'Hem Sheva. This person who lent it and gave it to him is the one that was able to explain exactly what it looked like. Now, how was he able to explain what it looked like? Must be it was really his. And therefore it doesn't belong to Rav Miyash's heirs. Fine. And the only time we say we give it back to this guy is the Eldul Ruggle the Yalav Nafik Hasim. If this guy doesn't typically go to his house of a Ruggle the Yalav Nafik Hasim, so it's possible that he really doesn't belong to him either. He just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and he saw that some other guy left and gave him this deposit, and he watched and he saw exactly all the simanim, and maybe it's really not his. So the only time we're actually going to believe this guy is only in the situation where we know for a fact that he just wasn't someone that typically went to this guy's house. Hahu gavri diafkid kasa de kasba. So you had this person who lent and gave as a safekeeping this silver goblet. Bechasa in this person's home, and his name was Chasa. Shachav Chasa. He died. V'lo pocket. Again, he didn't explain its status. So Rav Nachman, Amalahu, Yadanim be bechasa do Omid. It doesn't belong to him because, again, we know he's not rich. problem is not his. But and furthermore, this other guy was able to explain exactly what it looked like. And as we said before, the only time we give it back to this guy who brought forth the simanim is because he's never around. So it must be he knew that this was real. It must be his, the way he explained it. Again, it's possible that someone else just saw this happening, but it really wasn't theirs. Another story. Hahu di afgid mitachsa be ravdimi achua de rav safra. So this person, he left these silk garments and shachav ravdimi v'lo pocket. So almost the exact same idea. So again, in this case, it was Rav Dimi who died, and there was no instructions. Also coming to Rabbi Abba again, he wasn't rich. But this person proved, he gave exact instructions and specifications about the silk garment. Again, it only will give it back to him is because he's never around. But if he always goes there, anyway, maybe someone else gave it to him, he just happened to be, he noticed. Another story. A person does make specifications, and right before he dies, he says, I want everything to be given over to Tuvia. There's only one problem. He didn't specify. And Tuvia, maybe not the most common name in the world, is still common enough that it's possible that there was more than one Tuvia, including my son. Shachiv, so this guy died, and Asa Tuvia, and all of a sudden some guy showed up, and that was his name. So Omer Rabbi Yochanan, Hariba Tuvia. Here, it's uncontested. There's only one Tuvia that came. It must be, that was the guy I was talking about. Omer Tuvia, let's say the guy said Tuvia, V'asa Rav Tuvia, and instead a Rav Tuvia came. So we say with V'asa Rav Tuvia, with Tuvia Omar or Rav Tuvia lo Omar. So the din is that, I'm sorry, this is one of the prices of being a rabbi, is that now you're not going to get it, because he would have specified. If you're a rabbi, he's going to show respect, and he would have said Rav Tuvia. V'i inish the gaius bei hagayus bei. But if he's a person that Rashi says is rugel etzlo, that you're constantly by, even though you're a rabbi, but because he's always near you, so you may end up just calling by his first name, and therefore that would be okay. What happens if also shnei tuvia? Let's say two tuvias come. Shachim the Talmud Chacham. So the din is Talmud Chacham kaidim. Even though it's a neighbor, but if you have a Talmud Chacham, so we assume that you probably want to give it to a Talmud Chacham. Says Rashi, the mistama adam matzdik masav uschus b'shas misa. Probably out of the two, he's going to want to give it to the righteous person, to the tzaddik, because kol navim lo nisnavu elo lo mehena Talmid Chachamim nechasav. As it says at the end of the 5th parak in Brachos, that a person is supposed to give pleasure and help out a scholar. And therefore, it's more likely that's probably what he had in mind. What if it's a karva Talmud Chacham? So Talmud Chacham kaidim. Even though you mentioned Tuvia, you have a relative, and you have a Talmud Chacham who's not a relative, again, you probably would support the Talmud Chacham. Iboihu. What if you have a shachim and karav? What if you have a neighbor and a relative? So Tashma, Taiv Shachim Karov Mi'ach Rachik. Better is a close neighbor than a far brother. So interestingly enough, this is the opinion that probably if you have a close relationship with your neighbor, you may have actually decided to want to give that to them over the other guy. Shneim Karayvim, Shneim Shchenim, Shneim Chamim. What if you have two that are people that are exactly even? So Shuddha Didaini. In that situation, we say the famous din of Shuddha Didaini. As a Machlokas Rashi Taisus, what that means, Rashi says, Hatalos Hadayanim, Lafima Shiyuru Dayanim, Shahaya Darkish Shalmeis, Lakari Veseh, Yosim Zeh. So if you have to look into it, Shuddha Didaini isn't just random. Rather, you have to actually look into the matter, and you have to decide who do you think he was most close with. And based on the most educated guess of seeing who he was close with, then that's probably the person you should give it to. However, Taisus, as you can see, it says, Lo keperish hakuntris, sheperish shiyamdu hadayanim daito, that they do this whole evaluation, but rather, as he quotes, Rabbeinu Tam, shadayin yitin lamishi yirtze. And that's it. He just has to give it to whoever he wants. The Taisa says, should have denied, you can just freely give to whomever you want. Amalei Rabba Lebered Rav Chia Baravin Ta Emelach Milsam Al Yosa. Tell us something beautiful to Habi Amar Avuch that your father said. Hadi Amar Shmuel Hamaycher Shtar Chayv Chaverai. He said that if a person sells a Shtar Chayv to his friend, so let's say someone owes me money, so I have this document that says he owes $100, and I sell this document, so you want to buy this star, so now you'll have rights to make this collection. So if you do that, the chazar umaychol, and then afterwards you forgive the loan, machol, which is a tremendous chiddush, that I sell you this document, I'm the lender, and then afterwards I can cancel the loan. The afil yorish meichel, even when it comes to a yorish, even a yorish. It says Rashi, the borrower can say to the buyer, he can just say, I have nothing to do with you. I feel yorish, shel malva, moichel. The yorish of the lender could be moichel. It's not only the person who lent it, but even the yorish of the lender. Fine, they feel yorish moichel. Maida Shmuel, however, Shmuel admits, in a situation of b'mach neses shtar chayiv l'bala, where a woman has a star, which is the nixim alug, regarding to her husband, in which we know the husband has rights to the peros, the chazra, and let's say she retracts, umachalta, and she is moichel on it, so she'enu moichel, she does not have the ability to do that, because his hand is like her hand. In other words, because even though she has rights to the karka, he has rights to the peros, and therefore because of that, he's allowed to, in the event that she does this, she can say, no, this is not you can't just simply walk away from this. Question 6, which I think we may have done. Let's see. Yeah, question 6, which we just saw here. Let me mark it down. So even though Shmuel says his din, it has to do with, again, the woman and her nixim alug. If she has a star, literally a star chayiv, so mishum diyada kiyada, because his hand is like her hand, so she doesn't have the ability to be Michael. Okay. Also, fine. Weiter. So Krevase the Rav Nachman, the relatives of Rav Nachman, Zavinta l'ksubasa b'toivas hana. They sold the ksuba with which is called toivas hana. When toivas hana, Rashi says, is a davar mu'at, a small amount. Shin elo kechizik toiva. This is brought down in Makos at great length. The buyer will take the money b'safek shema tomos he b'chayibala, in the event that she dies while her husband is alive, and mefached ve'enu locha el b'demei mu'atim. So because there's the chance that he may not get anything, so therefore doesn't have to pay the full amount of the ksuba. Igrisha, so she got divorced, ushchiva, and died. So asa katavile lebrata. So they went to claim this for the daughter, says Rashi. They said, well, your mother sold it to us. So Rav Nachman leika de lisbola etza. Is there anyone that could give some type of advice for the daughter in this situation, that she could somehow not lose out? So we continue to pay Vav and Aleph. Tezel go v'techalwa l'ksubasa, and the daughter should be moichel the ksuba, the ima of the mother. Says Rashi, diamrin nafil yarish moichel. We said that even the yarish, which will be the daughter, the rightful yarish, could be moichel alone. Legabi avua v'terta minei. And then again she'll be able to benefit. Shama azla achilta, so that she heard about this and she was Michael. So Rav Nachman asinu atzmenu ke'arche hadayanim. How did you have the right to do this? You seem like when the Arche Hadayanim, like a lawyer, that you're giving all this advice. So Ma'ikara myself. Why did he think it was maybe questionable? Should you do it? Should you not give this advice? Should you not? So originally, because when he thought it was a good idea to give the advice, is because you shouldn't close your eyes from someone who's your relative. However, the end, when he had regret, he said an Adam Chashash is different. Says Rashi, Lafi Shalamdin Himenu, since we learn from this person, they're going to start doing this even for someone who's not a relative. So again, the daughter is a Yarish, and therefore technically could be Moichel de Ksuba when the mother dies. So her father will get the money, and then in turn it should be given to her. So because technically that works, but the problem is that even though it's a good thing to help out your relatives, but this eitzah could be used also for other people, and therefore that's something which we would have frowned upon. Adkan.